Greetings. Welcome back to the book named Hindu by Sannyasi Mukhi BaBa. www.sannyas.live. The new chapter in the book Hindu is Death Does Not Exist. This is a pure fiction chapter, something that we know, and the chapter is being written about that does not exist. This is pure main chapter. People live with their life and they die, and someone say death does not exist. Do you know why people say Earth is flat? It is maybe time instance when only few people experience such situations. One situation is like time has stopped. Second is day Earth stood still. And third, when only one day sun rises and then never. All these are flat Earth situations. When even God takes Earth to one corner of the universe and let anything happen till personal deja vu to each condition. And then one say, I have been there before, I have seen that before. Flat Earth is a situation when even God is a gummy pie to find logic, where he was working, situation like his writing went taken away and he is waiting for new sheet to start from. But only one conditional state is standing still away in universe, at corner out of every universal play time happened on Earth, and nobody or anything can visualize any other planet nearby. It can be called total science day, and then to reach normal behavior of Earth even becomes a task or situation to reach. Think one end of the sunrise and other sunset covering upper layer of Earth in 24 hours, and reaching sunrise after another 24 hours. When sun found at another end, there is no Earth to cover, and thus enter black gulf and comes back, but that is false, that sun come back. But it is state of God, and even sun did realize his behavior as well. This is flat Earth situation, even situation when God of universe finds some logical release out of Earth that shall not be shared before right time. And this is a chapter, and it's not exactly true or false, as time over any planet lived is lived, and to prove such existential mind is like cruelty, where in Hindu religion God even gets surprised on rituals, that is, those rituals which awake God instances, and such topic does writing in God travel time, does surprise God even more than what was looking at. And what we are sharing is very healthy talk, as God loves what he does. So what we call deal does not exist, and flat Earth situation is same story, and to know occurrence of some events those even God does not know, because becomes what can you say flat Earth topic over Earth. If you have seen our YouTube and even downloaded such instances, please be curious and be aware of God technical hand reason over Earth, that why God has involved, and let technology work over Earth. People and machine, when God time of play is diverted into machine time, and what is that media which is recorded and does act and play on God-like player pause condition to tell people that yes, after flat Earth or flat bed situation, maybe no Earth situation, and everybody travels to one Anant, one Kala, one Akala, which even does not require body from to be visible, and the spaces of God himself, because the instances of death and cremation create a situation in group, and does surprise a lot of people, and even each death at even later old ages does surprises more, but the great surprises are even some God situation, those God have kept somewhere in universe for time play, but ultimately death opens for that and thus does not exist. People write and does not care who is listening and visualizing and writing concept for public to hear. When God-like personality takes part, which is always and even one thought of God that I am not present, does create some anomaly over Earth, like no, this is not, I am not. And does other being character at play changes? Then someday God comes to senses that I exist, I am. Then because God, then other being goes off, then other earth stands stable, flat earth situation, megapala, universal, whole, and one earth drop. God is an earth not. So that does not exist when God does exist, as the biggest and only Father of the universe. God giving birth and playing life, body play instances. If you look exactly, there is no God. And thus God does not exist, only because that does not exist. So understand, this is not play. One God of earth like to play and give birth. Then God of universe looking at earth anomalies want to deny earth and let earth fuse in big fuss on the corner of universe where no one can ever hear. Because universe and God of universe have other planets as well to take care. But why this first situation arises by flat earth time and that does not exist? Madness is written. Does not it seem no one is respecting God of universe? If people of earth and the lives of earth cross his planetary rule, and even God of earth help in such act, ultimately the situation is led to die, led to fuss in its own. Because even God of universe even fluid up and pumps up each planets like human organs when distances happen for reason, then people dies and so on. So the chapter is totally incorrect and because it is not the day to totally activity and time of earth are totally accept. But if you flip the chapter, wait to share risk of death and instances of death, those can even happen at rapid stage. Mean even to say when sun only took one day to travel earth in flat earth situation, nobody can tell how long the travel had been, for how many hours at what speed, how each human those might have seen sunrise after big wind, or even once holded the sunlight in their eyes, being solar existence as machine, and thus rotating and following each human eye, and memory, we still have memory. We still have memory instance very well. We can really visualize sunrise again and again. But if was only once, and but we cannot say even if it was. That event to express is really mistake, terrible, thriller, exotic and lifeless. Can you suggest to an insect how big humans are? What their eyes reflect on Earth? Because humans are and have gone more scientific, and thus points towards being scientific. When age and some other outer media kills human and does not have any cultivity, is burned in India and Hinduism, then would help us to fire those dead. Instance of universal being to get to ashes. Do we know how these trees occur to grow from beginning? Do you know there is a sound like harp when earth will get next sunrise? When that sunrise happened, where these green lands were there, tree grew and everything after sunrise. And solar storage in human reflected over earth at 8 interval passes. When people and human used to live far away, when eyes could not have been meeting in early stages, the days of sun memory rotation has been uneven. Like after 3 days or 30 days or even 6 months, because human even reacted and were ape with full height and other innocence. Their sunrise and their memory reflected our perceived thought when ape could find what happened on that day. Those are also called our ancestors. Now we even know they also tossed fire out of 2 stone rubbing, and that also reinitiated sunrise in them. Now if we say death does not exist, only because our eyes can visualize population, but even then at early stage people could not find other ape, and as now is now, but it is what? Do we even have eyes? Do we have consciousness of these eyes? We say such concept because we are machines of universe. Human is a living form of animal, earth, and thrills excite some species watching from the camera in the eyes and does act as a machine. Because the species of universe and other god of universe, earth is out of their one project. So we say because human might die like the speed of fire, at various intervals, and thus must be prepared emotionally, but even emotions are live and controls are in beyond. Science labs and thus even require conscious happening out of each human machine. God and saying God was just a characteristic. For thousands years, a play for people, those act as God to earth and soul. Missing consciousness, missing memories are vast God characteristic in us, where experiences have been captured and monkey-like calculation or some instances to prove human appearances have been recorded, like in time encapsulation, used our being God tragedy or earth situation. Only science reflects, and thus also provides big sun girl appearance for human to visualize flat earth situation. Inside their being at any time, calendar, reading, view, technique from YouTube to love. But when these human mind deposits such thoughts only become more logical happening of God in human and does not shake human machine to death. Being something situation of non-control, even God, big gulp is thinking of presence. Yes, that exists. For better judgment, one early day, thousands, billion counts of day before, our human machine ancestor for the first day began their mechanical life after sun travel happening and traveling covering Earth geographical state no distance yet. Then mind-eye consciousness of human gradually shifted life, sun with each oceanic wave, slowly, not knowing who was holding sun overhead, and took almost thousands years to sun even pass. One round of Earth and the big gulf. But then only night, Megakala, no sunrise. Those machines, king-size machines, got wowed and surprised. Then conscious beginning happened, and those apes started meeting and tried fire for the first time. It was a time when the sunlight took its special control of there and began life in these hands. And such stories created life and nature and death. The time sun spent its fire, and one day over Earth waved energy into animals, human, and even big crops, veggies, protein life happened. Even looking at each other are his energies. Ape human and even looking at each other are his energies, ape human life, and thus they lived, our ancestors, for thousands, hundreds of years without any calendar management. But still we find under our earth up to certain feet, big food, big dummies, machine ape, their body structure. But it was only one day, and thus what we see now is happening out of ancestors giving birth and then transcending that sunrise to their babies while birth. Then Hindus, Mayans, they had found human with power, those could awake in being, and even hold sunlight for years to night, like Hanuman and many lost names. There were many experiences done by God of universe with flying God, big animal nature. The ape human fought then with spontaneous power, power like you are fighting in dream. Some powers you could never think of and were given to you out of your spacious control room. That for one ape human machine is private big gulp, when the outer God species accept your big gulp experience within you. Then you leave your body any time, even in dreams. This is like you have received only few instances of sunrise, and even your ambition to have more died in you. And this memorial sunrise happened in God's name, and you die like sun big gulp one day. It is not sad story, but that does not exist. And what does exist is that big sunny first sunrise in human history that lives in nature with us. Do you believe our life in our eyes take birth out of our parents and ancestors, and thus directly they can visualize everything from within us? We also have such vital sunrises only for us, those who help other humans to know our families and our understanding of life because of what we have been, and we call them parents. However, we are only them. We may have risen like machine on the very big sun ceremony ground day, But we end like human and thus always visualize species God responsible for happening across our planet and universe. But because Earth has been occupied into karma in recent thousands of years, now has reached to micro-nano thought process utilizing only mechanical sunrise deposited by people called scientists, engineers, helpers to produce and manufacture machines. The saved logical instances of big data intact into mechanical machine parts, software, and even now visible radio signals. This big curve was first happening out of geographical Earth, but nowadays happening just before time machine, computer screen, and even before non-visual visual radio signal. Those big curves passing day out of scientists' visions, a day of experiment are passed through you as human. We are going to experience notorious species of God of universe event. Might be with sunrise and big theft left with the animal mind or earth, and it progressed out of our own, and forgot those species even lived over earth at some time at the time of big theft. To say from the day of the legend, and from eyes of animals, and it can be said now, that big gulp could not happen, and there could never have been night. What we visualize as night is big gulp, failure of humanity. That is non-existential situation for Earth. There is no night. It is only when sun has melted down in thousands clever human and big gulp has been deposited by their ancestors and their death has been declared. Or such situation in more logical behavior with respect to animals and their presence in human as behind the curtain tragedy. Human when consciously believe that they are being run by some animal species because the innocence remain thus utilize less or nothing of sunrise and thus for animal there is always sunrise in them. We cannot prove such events whether animals really have night as only us have been on this planet's consciousness. We know nothing about animals. The universe species in control have only used ape-human as centralized focus media to travel. Inhibit, utilize, research the art, but even you see ape-human, we are one with nature. Saying special is only to rise consciousness from behind the species channel. Instances aimed in technology and thus bringing need to chip-level human is increasing as even such magical concept. When flicks of big curve can happen, that 30 seconds you can lose sight, then you can come to your visual experience. But because human and ancestral consciousness, those technological big gulp night, be surely required for human mind consciousness for everyone to really help that big sunrise of one day to stay in good. This reality is dead, and not other life instances. Do we see only from end of life, when we die until we die? We wait for because it does happen, and it really there is only big gulp in the name of death. Then Hinduism says, but reality is only once. We live and die only once. Because if path does not have any destiny, it surely have no meaning to it. But might be we could have more fun if there was no death. Every day someone look into unknown and misses the real delight of life, unknown that could not be after death and cremation. But unknown beyond death rises in oneself only, and thus live along with us every day like the thought, and does cover even beyond like the big curve instances in seconds. And we live many mysterious happening over Earth from scientific research to religious anomalies, taboo beaches, and thrilling activities. Then people try to focus over each Earth and found many people around were only willing to die and meet God if living after death, but religious even promise God living on Earth. Enigma behind death is like release to sing which is birth, and living savages and other life mysteries. Those are painful and hard to live long during human-world relationship. Because God aren't like we skip or we accept anomaly, that we only meet God in real life. Both the way yes or no are far dangerous, equally thrilling as well. But those even goes for any of these, they try to dig in that like situation, which only rises God instances in one body and soul. God becomes living one in such personality. It is not about just a sadhu saintism. You trying to drive fast to curious road accident. Also have same day and night long God paradigm. Hindu religion and its priests are very subjective and religion-oriented and does only react to high-level note of God wisdom presentation of world. Might be when people try to visualize God that behavior, what occurs is real God, and his planets or might be visualized or feels God is coming in them, and thus they have visualization of life after death, while dreaming and breathing even with open eyes. This kind of regular experiences give them more belief on God, and they reject God that instance in one life, and they jump to another life without sitting and waiting for reality to pass through it. That is why Hinduism have many taboo-like subjects, those authenticity, dies when talking about next birth, while living the one you are already living. This kind of belief does really kills God presence in human, and God even misses the real subject to read to human. Think God is living in this birth. You've seen sunrise and you come to witness sunset. The thought drives you to that, but you are trying along all the way something else, and thus you come to one the birth in someone after thinking of that. But God was with us you in previous thought, and your consciousness runs ahead. Thus God will run with you in your next conscious thought. Thus even that thought is real, because God even wants you to believe in reality and stay lively and conscious in life in same birth, and do not think even about that. Might be we have only one God each birth, that is only truth all the life, and therefore we wait for another birth to be more conscious than this. Or does someone guide you? These chapters bring out the brave happening rather than being hypnotic about life experiences and getting down on that rebirth. We try this normally that death does not exist, but why it does not exist? Such thing can you ask every day after every hour. That doesn't exist, but why it does not exist? Surely you will be someone full of life consciousness, and your being will be more helpful in orgasmic life. When you can ask and research such adventures, surely things are floating in you, where you deliver your conscience for a supportive reason even after death, and you live along each birth in this birth as well. But to find such logic, God needed to be sitting in your Chaitanya conscious life to reply, and play with your thoughtful living, being as living as high as possible. Because chapter like that does exist is only for saints, and only few hypnotic can lie on such subject to live along with all problems, and even then think and think about God. Happiness is such crush of life, which if does not happen, this birth is like subject that does not exist. That means everything goes missing, every birth, and therefore only one God lives to ride such subject to stop karmic and living time in conscious awareness. That no, nothing goes missing this life, and yes, other births even have no such behavior, and therefore I think that happens, but that does not exist. Even mild second of life that does not have an instance of life. So thankful to life we live, and we live what does we know is only meaningful play. Thank you.